maybe.
Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We're talking about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. I'm back on a Wednesday with our resident engineer, Mike Herzog. How's it going today, Mike?
You know what? I'm glad to be back. It's been a couple of weeks. I can report back on some man on the street interviews from Northern Europe on what I saw for EV action. It was very interesting. I rented two separate cars there, and both of them were plug-in hybrids,
Oh,
EVs. And it was kind of cool because they pitched it as, like, don't worry about charging it or anything, but basically you get, 50, 60 kilometers for free that you don't have to fill back up in the gas tank. It's like,
now,
that's kind
did
of
you
cool.
have places to plug it in where you were staying?
Now, I was in Finland for part of it, and they actually, from their engine block heaters, it looks like
Mhm.
they were starting to convert some of that infrastructure for traditional EVs. But I didn't go out of my way to look for them. But there were, I would say equivalent to what we see here in Lithuania and not Ukraine, got Ukraine on the brain, and Finland in that space of charging stations here and there, things popping up. Probably the neatest I saw was, I wish I took a picture of it. They actually had the street light adapter on there, so you just
Okay,
pull up next to the street light. They had a jack to plug in your car, and a couple of those, and saw a couple cars charging that way.
nice, nice. Do you think that was level two charging on the street lights?
I don't
Or do
know. I don't know. I don't think. I bet it wasn't. I bet it
you think
wasn't.
it was just level one?
Just level one from what they
Yeah.
said.
I think to a certain degree that's one of those things that level one charging just, it's so slow that it's probably not the end of the world if, a lot of that is provided for free or whatever.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I've talked
Yeah,
about this
it's
for
just, why
apartments. It's
not?
like,
Yeah.
what's somebody going to use? If you have a resident and they're plugging in, they might use $20 worth of electricity in a year. That still cuts into your numbers, right? But if that, helps you retain
Retain
tenants.
customers and confidence and satisfaction and all that. Like, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, so I'm just saying it's certainly got its advantages. Um, let's see. So I want to start out talking because you and I have been talk a lot about nuclear energy, and Russia damaged the protective dome around Chernobyl, so it can no longer contain radiation. A drone hit it, of all things, and while they try to downplay this, um, it looks like it's not, you know, small damage. It hit it pretty good. I've got a picture if it
It's
pulls
insane.
up. There we
Oh
go.
man,
Yeah. I included two humans for scale there.
those poor
And
guys. Gosh, you stick your head over the hole. Ooh, yeah, that's
this,
that's that's a pretty good hole right there.
yeah. Yeah, here's the mouth of hell. Will you guys go and see if you can just patch that up real
Yeah,
quick?
dude, real quick. Don't be there for more than 5 minutes.
Yeah, officials arrived at the scene within minutes to put out the flames, but it was only the latest in the string of incidents plaguing the site as Russia's invasion of Ukraine drags on. From Russian soldiers inhaling radioactive dust after entering a nearby forbidden zone of major blackouts, forcing workers to switch to backup diesel generators at the disaster site. When Russia first invaded Ukraine, because Chernobyl's up by what do you call that country just north of it that's been cooperating with the Russians?
Belarus?
Belarus. Yeah, the one that Minsk is in.
Yeah.
Anyways, the Russians camped out around the nuclear facility, and a whole bunch of them, a lot of them got radiation poison.
Radiation poison.
They dug trenches, and
Oh, yeah.
the
Yeah,
soil just ate
that
up the
soil's got to
radiation.
just be caked. I mean, yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, they eventually just simply withdrew from that area.
Yeah.
The Russians did,
I mean,
and
that's
but
it's scary, and it's like we were talking beforehand before we jumped online. It's just bad for the industry. Bad to resurface old wounds and issues and everything like that of the past, and just seeing those relics out there that they're subject to future conflict, and you have to watch them for such a long time. it's such a different world today that seeing those more legacy nuclear facilities take the spotlight again is just not good, not good for the industry.
Yeah, well, and besides that, you have the largest nuclear power plant in Europe, which is Zaporizhzhia nuclear power station, is currently controlled by the Russians, and it's
Mhm.
under their control since 2022. It sits on the Dnieper River, and from up until 22, it had been operated by Energo Atom, and now it's being operated by Rosatom, which is a Russian company, but it has 5.7 gigawatts of generation, but it's currently not generating power and is mostly shut down. But this is a big thing in the treaty negotiations that they're trying to work out between Russia and Ukraine is the status of this. Before the war, this provided 20% of Ukrainian power for the whole country. And this is some of the cooling towers have been hit by artillery shells. There's other things that have hit it. So it's really not in the safest spot. I mean, nobody really foresaw
that was such a big deal early on of how close they got and contacting things and damaging infrastructure around it. It's just everybody at least took a step back and said, yeah, no, don't mess with that one. Just leave that one alone. That is not a target. That should not be a target.
Yeah, and so this is one of the things with and we're going to call this, we talk about this, your grandfather's atomic energy. This certainly falls into that. These reactors were put online between 1985 and 95. Okay, now to be fair, 95 is probably newer than almost everything in the United States, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But the sixth reactor was put in 2000. Oh wait, no. The sixth was added in 95.
Okay.
The first five were in the 4-year span between 85 and 89. So, yeah, it's a pretty big deal, but it's an old Gen 2 reactor setup. The Russians have their own type of technology, but it's a light water nuclear reactor. Very different from Chernobyl. Chernobyl wasn't the same type of technology, but anyways, it's in a dangerous spot, and it's interesting seeing these wars be fought over. I don't know if it's really energy. The Donbass, where most of this fighting is really where all of the most of the mineral resources for that region are at, and that's one of the reasons why it's so heavily contested. Is simply because
the nuclear plant, it has a huge power requirement even when it's not in operation. So for reference, like stateside, tons of regulations about that and requirements of you will have, in addition to your generators, backup diesel generators to power this, alternate sites, alternate feeds, backup plans to the backup plans. When you develop what we call like black start plans, where it's if the grid blacks out, it's mapped out, it's planned, people train on it. Here's how we restore the grid when everything's said and done. It has to be a priority that you restore power to nuclear power plants, just because they run for a long time and they have cooling and water circulation and pumps and all of those things that have to stay active. So it is keeping those things, even when the power is not running, reliable and up is like about as high as priority as we get in the US as far as not messing with those things.
Yeah, well, it's one of the things, for those of you who don't know, some of the newer technologies, the stuff that's being classified as Generation 4 doesn't require outside power. It doesn't require outside water. And that all helps a lot. Yeah, we try not to get into politics on here, but, it is what it is. But anyways, we get, what was I saying there? Lost my train of thought. But it's interesting just to see where this is going in the nuclear space. But the Gen 4 stuff doesn't require all that.
So self-extinguishes. which is
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's completely different technology. It just happens to still be in the world of fission. You know, and I'm seeing even now, I'm seeing some fusion people thinking they're going to be online by 28, which I think is awfully optimistic.
Oh, I can't see that. I can't see that.
Yeah.
I mean, they did. There's been breakthroughs. I
Mhm.
mean, in small contained environments. I mean, I think they said it's the hottest spot in the galaxy was in a small lab. They actually got core temperatures higher than the sun to do some, but for like 20 seconds, and ran it. And it's so they're getting there, but it's 2028.
Yeah,
Oh,
some of those temperatures are ridiculous. I
yeah.
think I've seen things like 70 million degrees
Yeah,
or
like they said, it's
something.
hotter. They got it hotter than the core of the sun, just for at the size of a baseball for 20 seconds. But it was the hottest spot in the solar system.
Yeah, the neat thing about fusion is if something were to get out of control, the system shuts itself down. So it's pretty cool from that perspective
Mhm.
too. It's because you're combining atoms, you're not splitting atoms. It's very simple to cut things off in one of those reactions.
It needs so much energy to keep it running. Where it's if you take some of those inputs out of it, it just matter's lazy. Atoms are lazy. They don't want to do that if they don't have to.
That's kind of a funny, this funny thought. Lazy atoms. All right. So we're going to report on wind energy. The Trump administration has been very down on wind, and they've tried to put a ban on wind energy permits. And a court has ruled that it's unlawful to ban wind energy permits. Now, 17 states and a New York-based clean energy group sued the government, setting apart the stop work order imposed on a vast wind farm in New York was aiming at powering 500,000 homes. And a district court judge in Massachusetts vacated Trump's order, saying it was arbitrary and capricious and contrary to law. Now, I have an issue with, I can understand the Supreme Court overturning something the president does. It's these lower courts that I don't see how a lower court judge can go in and enforce something on the federal government. There's been a lot of things that have happened in this way lately, or I should say in this past year, that I've never really seen before in public, where a local judge can affect what's going on in the federal government. It's just something strange, and it's being used more and more, it
Mhm.
seems. Which I don't know what to think about that. I think people need to have a way to address their grievances, but some of this is hard to say. I just don't get the administration's hate on wind. We all agree it's not pretty, but it is pretty effective.
It's
And
pretty effective, and especially those offshore projects,
mhm.
which is the pinnacle of you ruined my view. This is an issue. It's maritime. It's all of those, but good Lord, they're effective. It's all get 100 meters above the surface of the water. The breeze is always blowing. I mean,
Mhm.
it goes all the time. I mean, they're very very good projects from energy production standpoint.
I wonder how much energy they're burning off running those transmission lines underwater and getting them to somewhere where the energy is used.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the voltage I'm sure is pretty high, and if they're in water, it's self cooled and putting it in there. That's the big issue we have with wind where we're at. We're
Mhm.
in the middle of the country, and boy, we've got some wide open spaces, and a lot of wind coming off the Rocky Mountains in those areas. But we're talking Chicago and places that really really need that energy, and that's the limitation right now. It's
Transmission.
transmission. It's got to go somewhere. Like it's the middle of rural Nebraska, 200 miles away from population centers. Like that's where there's space, that's where there's wind, but there's no demand. It's all got to
Yeah,
go somewhere.
yeah. I've wondered just how much we're burning up in infrastructure to get that somewhere, because obviously you're making it basically at I've seen LCOE on wind being at like 2-3 cents.
It's dirt cheap.
Yeah, but that doesn't factor in the infrastructure cost of getting it to a user.
Yep.
And that's one of the big things, trying to explain to people. It's like, okay, you're paying 20 cents for retail electricity, and somebody's producing that electricity at the source for 4 cents, but you got 2 cents profit, and then everything in between, that other 14 cents,
cost of service.
Yeah, it's infrastructure.
Yeah, there's wires, there's poles, there's people. I mean, it goes down. It needs maintenance. I mean, the fixed cost is what they call that of delivering power. It's higher. It's higher, and most utility rate structures are actually balanced the other way, where most of the cost recovery mechanism is actually through the sale of energy, which is why when you start talking about solar and renewables, it gets really scary for utilities, because they're like, oops, like we actually inverted our rate structure. Most of the cost is in fixed assets, but we recover it through variable energy sales. Well, if you put solar in your house and those variable energy sales go away, then it's like, they're kind of caught holding the bag on all those fixed assets.
Mike and I have been talking to people about selling energy at the site of the user. And the big advantage there is if we can provide the energy at the user, then there's no infrastructure costs.
Yep.
But the types of energy we're proposing are definitely more expensive than wind.
Yeah.
And it's just that the ones we're proposing are super environmentally clean, but
costs money. Yeah.
It's not cheap, but it's the best solution for those locations. But the big thing is saving on the transmission costs. And
millions of dollars a mile anymore.
It's just crazy how expensive it is to run those lines. But anyways, this whole thing is so the Interior Department had ordered Norway's company Equinor to halt construction of the Empire Wind project. And now the Trump administration has since allowed work on the Empire Wind project to resume. The states have argued that wider freezes on permits for other projects is in the U.S. economy as developers and financiers back away from earlier plans. This makes it really tough if you're somebody who's willing to invest in these projects. I just don't get. It's not like the federal government is subsidizing these projects.
Not anymore. They used to.
They used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
But people are still wanting to put them in, and it's because they math out.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of this is. It's like, I'm a realist in a lot of this, and if the market economics suck, it's really hard to put green energy in there, right? But if the economics work, then by all means,
let the market operate the way the market wants.
Yeah, I think it's better to be clean, and the truth is, wind and solar. So the problem with wind and solar is the lack of baseload energy, right? But people perceive that, and they always want to focus on that, and yet a lot of your baseload power being provided by LNG or other things, you can turn that off when you don't need it.
Yeah.
And so if you got plenty of wind and solar, take the cheaper wind and solar. It's not just cheaper; it's cheaper and cleaner at the same time. So it makes a lot of sense.
It makes sense, and that's it's what we see the same thing with EVs, where the market is actually turning around the cost, upfront cost of purchasing a new vehicle and long-term operational, even without subsidy, the market has gotten there. I mean, these things have turned around, and it's going to stand on its own 2 feet.
All right. So I've got a good one for you. Status of EV charging in 2025, reliability, NACS standardization, and grid-ready growth. So what we've got going on is automakers are now consolidating around NACS, which is the Tesla supercharger network, standard, but CCS1 installations still outpace NACS deployments.
Really?
Yeah, so more people are
Wow.
putting in CCS
Huh.
chargers. Yeah.
So I this is just my interpretation of it, but I thought that discussion was over. I thought we had settled. Like this is what we're going to go to. Everybody's. I know it's adapter kits right now, but
Mhm.
boy, I thought that was kind of in the rear view mirror. We're going NACS, but
I would hate to be in the, you know, dealing in that space too much right now because you just know everything's going to the NACS standard. And in my opinion, it really looks like it makes sense to
it
have one
makes sense,
standard, right?
right? It's the
And
biggest network right now. I mean, it makes sense, but
we had Jeremy McCool from Hevo on here that was talking about the wireless charging, right? And they're already putting in a lot of things, even though wireless charging doesn't really exist as far as most of us are concerned. It's really still just a lab project, but they've already agreed on the standards.
yep.
Everybody's going to have the same standard. And the big thing
Same
is,
standard. Here's how it works. It's universal. I mean, yeah. They're approaching it right.
so Bill and I were talking about something new in terms of how people could be billed for um, charging at public charging by their local utility company. The idea being more of an ATM type structure. So you go and you charge, and the charger doesn't actually charge you for anything. So you don't do any payment at the charger. Your local utility company handles infrastructure fees for the provider, but
Okay.
charges you the regular local utility rates.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so the markup is simply classified as an infrastructure fee, which is a lot like when you're going to an ATM and you get cash. If it's your own bank, you don't pay a fee. But if it is somebody, which would be like charging at home, right? So you
Yeah.
have to pay a fee. But when you go to somebody else's charger, you'd pay a fee just like you would at the ATM.
Just like you would an ATM. That's
Mhm.
kind of cool. I think that's an interesting approach. One, it simplifies things, I think, in the long run, where it's all funneled through that. You don't have to worry about subselling and franchise laws and all. It's just keep it easy. Keep it easy. Connect this back to everything.
Well, I think the big thing is, when you look at, okay, why NACS is winning is because it has 99% uptime, right? People don't have the failures. But whereas the CCS chargers, and this isn't because of CCS, they have about a 20% average failure rate, but that most of the failures are payment. It's almost all payment. It's not actually the device
hardware.
themselves. Yeah, it's actually the payment systems. And so this idea would remove payment system failure. And so if you remove that, then all of a sudden you get, let's say that takes that from 20% failure to 1% to 2% failure, and you're in the same ballpark as NACS. It's a negligible difference.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would be wonderful for the industry if that actually can happen.
Those are all the things I want to continue to see, and what I hang my hat on with EVs still have so much growth. Like innovation with a lowercase I, consolidation. People just come up with better ways to do things, and they catch on. We don't need the Nobel Peace or Nobel Chemistry Prize to come through for new batteries. We just need continue to operate these as more efficient businesses, and it's going to be better for the entire industry.
Well, the big thing with the NACS standardization is you're tightening up reliability, right?
Yeah.
But it's just hard to fathom that more CCS chargers are still going in.
I wonder, I should go back if that, like NEVI formulary, if any of those, if there's still requirements, on any of these, like you have to make different charging adapters or different nozzles, if you will, like available as part of that still. So I wonder if there's kind of this false lift in there of, yeah, we still have to do this. We don't have a formal national standard on it, so you still have to make those available.
Well, one of the things, looking at the QST Global, their EV chargers, they're dual nozzle ones generally are one NACS and one CCS.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're trying to be already ready, I guess. But even then, you still can work with adapters, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
It's just something different. Are you familiar with Roman concrete?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. So Roman concrete has always sort of been a baffling thing because it's been so effective, and so many of these buildings that were built by the Romans 2,000 years ago still stand. Well, apparently, when people were doing some research in around Mount Vesuvius, they found where some people were doing some concrete repair, and they've got some theories on what's happening. But one of the things is Roman concrete's known for being self-repairing.
Self-healing. Yep.
Yeah, and so, anyways, it has to do with calcium oxide, and they use something called quicklime.
Mm-hmm.
And anyways, the process of mixing concrete worked with dry lime mixed with volcanic ash. And when water was added, the reaction produced heat. So there was an exothermic reaction from combining the items. It's something known as hot mixing, and results in a very different type of concrete than our Portland cement we get from a hardware store. Adding water to the quicklime forms something called slaked lime, along with generating heat. With the slaked lime, if you have tiny undissolved lime clasts that retain the reactive properties of the quicklime. If the concrete forms cracks, the lime clasts react with water to heal the crack.
It's back up. It's basically, I always imagine they just didn't mix it up. Like, you think of ours, it's very homogeneous and mixed up.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically left little pockets of lime in there. So when water gets added, it, expands and hardens itself back up.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have concrete trucks.
Yes.
With it mixing as it's going down the road, and it's hard to fathom how they did all this, because you look at bringing in concrete truck after concrete truck. I remember when I was doing a lot of building around the Memphis area, and Amazon came in, and you couldn't get any concrete because everybody's trucks were busy going and pouring for the 4 million square foot Amazon facility. Everybody was selling all of their concrete and all of their truck usage to Amazon. Yeah, can you imagine 4 million square feet?
God,
Anyways, but this hot mixing is kind of wild to think that the calcium oxide, volcanic ash, and water created heat.
Yeah. I had seen that, and basically it wasn't anything crazy. It's just they were really good at what they did. There wasn't a secret ingredient. It's just here's how we do it, and this is how it works.
Yeah, I just thought that would be kind of fun to talk about.
Yeah.
All right, I got a kind of a funny one. This is the title: Lucid Motors fired chief engineer after he complained about HR calling him a Nazi. He's filed a lawsuit. So this is something I had actually kind of wanted to cover with Bill, because Bill and I are both born in Germany, so we both dealt with this. Living in the United States, being called a Nazi as a kid, and all this stuff. This is actually the case of this guy. This guy is a German engineer working for Lucid, and he wasn't just an engineer. He was senior vice president of product and chief engineer.
Pretty good title.
Yeah. And he filed a wrongful termination lawsuit in federal court, alleging he was fired after he complained about discrimination and a hostile work environment, namely that a coworker called him a German Nazi and turned the company against him. I feel bad for the guy, but at the same time, this is just hysterical that this is, his complaint is things being disparaged in racist terms during the investigation, referring to him as a German Nazi.
And then they fired him.
I don't know if that's really racist, but it is, it is rude. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's derogatory and
Yeah.
discriminatory, whatever you want to call it, but that's very
Yeah. I thought it's like, wow, this is some wild stuff.
it's one of those I wonder how prevalent that was. If it was just an offhand in a meeting or if like constantly like somebody's spamming the company, this guy's a Nazi, this guy's a Nazi. Or yeah, you never know where that came from, or but it's just kind of funny.
We did not see that coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it. Come on, man. Boo.
Oh, I just thought that would be fun. Yeah, well, I've had, I've literally employed hundreds of people at a time, and getting people to get along with each other is, you
Yeah.
know, it's so hard. You're always going to find some people who, typically you find two people who just really don't get along with people in general to start with,
Yeah.
and they start getting under each other's skin, and it just boils over. And I don't know what you do about that. These people are out there in society, and it's hard to have all these antisocial types, and
Yeah.
man, especially in the construction space.
Oh, it's in
Yeah.
the trades. There's a lot of rules of thirds in the world, but it was my rule of thirds, where third of the people give you the shirt off their back, go above and beyond, want to do a great job. Third of the people, like, just leave me alone. Like, I'm going to show up, I'm going to do a good job, but I don't want to do anything else. And then a third of the people, oh God, seems like they're just there to cause trouble, and it's just do your dang job. Not everything. Nobody's out to get you. Just do it. So it's yeah, and they just make it worse for the other 2/3.
You just wonder how many people are just paranoid or
Yeah,
what's going on. But like in this case, I mean, this is just,
yeah.
for it to be a
And now
company like
we're
that.
laughing about this guy's dirty laundry. two guys in Omaha, Nebraska, laughing about it. That's yeah.
No, I know. And then I look here, with some of the things we've been talking about, I look at all the nuclear stocks are in the red, and they all gone down a little bit today. But you just kind of wonder. It's like with things going on, like you said, there's more earthquakes in Japan, with what's going on in Russia and Ukraine with the two nuclear facilities. You always just kind of wonder. I mean, like, if something bad happened to Zaporizhia, our nuclear industry would just be screwed.
To be set back again. I mean,
Yeah.
everything would do a 5 to 10 year reset and just be that much farther behind.
Yeah, I've seen somebody saying we're in the middle of a nuclear renaissance, and if things aren't done right, there won't be another one. It'd be the end of nuclear, and it's really sad because it could be that fragile, right? Just because of how people
It's
react.
all perception. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some reality. The older designs, you bet. Like it's a big safety risk, but
All right. Well, that was all I had for today. So I just had a limited amount of articles. But anyways, folks, want to thank everybody for watching, and we'll be back. I'll be back with Bill on Friday, and be back with Mike next week. Otherwise, folks, have a great day.